Good evening, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin, and welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff Lives. And tonight I'm going to indulge in a minefield. And minefield is when I kind of just let myself ramble or go on a rant. So try to keep it in a certain, between certain goalposts where I'm trying to make a point, maybe trying to make a bigger point. And tonight, I've been reading the book Rulers of Evil. And of course, that implies that there's people here who use evil to rule others. What a concept. And perhaps the whole idea of the United States has been to try to avoid getting ruled by evil people. If that's the case, we've not been successful as far as I can tell. We've still uh, got a lot of work to do. But the question is, why are there evil people? Why do people take up that dark side of life and then pursue it to death? You know, sure, you can change. You can change at the last minute. That's fine. But why does somebody pursue a policy that they know is going to lead to genocide, for instance, and still be able to sit down with their family and enjoy a nice meal and have pleasant conversations with people and laugh at the current jokes, participate in church, do whatever they do to maintain, a standing in the community while they're contributing to genocide. Hi, everybody. Glad to have you here. Um, at a bar, can't hear a thing. Where's the closed captions? I think you can do closed captions. I'm not sure. I'd have to go over to YouTube to check. I'm sorry, there's Zaga Nostra. Can't help you out there. Maybe move down to the quieter seat in the bar. Pardon me. Speaking of bar, I think I'll wet my whistle. Cheers. So, this primary organization that is using evil for good in the book we've been reading, Rulers of Evil, has been the Jesuits, right? Um, the Jesuits, and then all of this is according to Tupper Saucy, but it's consistent with my other readings. I'm not an expert on this by any means, but I've read a good dozen books on it. And this theory does hold water, to quote my cousin Vinny. For me, my opinion is correct that the Catholic Church, of course, comes out of the original Christian church. The biggest event was Constantine, um, 3 something AD, becomes emperor of Rome, defeats the competition at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge, where he either sees in a dream or says he saw in a dream a, a Christian cross written on the top of it the words "In hoc vinces," in this or with this you will conquer. So he won, and he made Christianity the imperial religion. Dun, da, da, da. And so that changed everything, including Christianity, because now, in order to run his empire, he had to make some changes to Christianity to make sure that he didn't lose his benefits, right? So that's gradually what happens as the empire becomes financially involved in the running of the Christian churches. And as these offices become more and more lucrative, and they also become actual controllers of territory. Bishops and cardinals would often even have a dukedom or something that they were in charge of, as well as what their religious duties. So it paid well, and the corruption just flowed from that. So by a certain point, you had some objections to the corruption, and the famous one is Martin Luther. And from there comes Protestant Reformation, or the attempt at reforming all of the corruption that was seen. So, in aid of Martin Luther was the secret societies of the day, the Rosicrucians, what's left of the Templars, the um, Freemasons. And these groups, and forgive me for jumbling the names because sometimes in one century it's one or the other. And I'm not, again, not comprehensively stating this. This is just a summary that's might have some flaws to it, but I think it's worth pursuing. So these secret societies became very, very powerful, and the church needed to fight back. And in order to fight back, they came up with the society, which became known as the Society of Jesus. And it's actually a militant or order, and they will do battle on behalf of the Pope, and they're sworn to personal allegiance to the Pope, and they're exempt from other religious duties that might, they pass through some bishop's territory. Well, they don't have to obey the bishop, for instance. They can do pretty much what they think is right according to their superior general, who is known as the Black Pope. And they did some black stuff. And then you have the organization called the Knights of Malta, which now exists in many forms, um, as do the Knights Templar. By the way, the Knights Templar is a one degree of the Freemasons, for example, as well as there are groups calling themselves the Knights Templar, lots and lots of different ones. You can just look at just Google it, and you'll see there's any number of Knights Templar groups active today. And in the multiplicity of Freemasons and other groups, the uh, Shriners and the Royal Jesters and all the other craziness that it represents secret societies that, with a great charitable and friendly, fun face in the lower orders, does have a great deal of power in the upper reaches of it. It's the adepts of masonry, for instance. Albert Pike was satanic. Where does it come from that somebody could be a respected leader of a very, very respected organization and still be satanic? That's the kind of the question that I'm raising. Let's go back in the Templars to the early, what we're told is the foundation of the Templars. And what we're told is that the Knights Templar of the temple, the Knights of the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem, were formed in what, the 11th century? But they were given a secret doctrine, a secret religion, which only was given to the higher levels of the Templars. And everybody else doesn't understand that there is a second level of what I'll call a religious belief. And this is something called Johannism or Johnism. It's Johannnism, Johannism, or a Johannite or a Johnite. And this is new to me. This has been revealed to me, I suppose, if I can make a bad pun, because it's about the book of Revelation. And in the Freemason tradition, the Templars, of which they are, the descendants, the Templars were secretly involved in an early Christian version, an early version of Christianity, in which John the Baptist was a co-Messiah and teacher of Jesus. So this changes everything, because you know that the Knights of Malta, the full original name is the Knights of Saint John the Hospitallers. We're talking about Saint John. What Saint John? As you know, there's John the Baptist. There's John of the book of John the Apostle. And then there's the book of Revelation, which historically most people have thought of as being written by the same guy that wrote the Apostle. Um, Modern scholarship says no, it couldn't be. It's not the same person. But according to the tradition of the Freemasons, it is the same person. So they have two Johns. No, I'm not talking about Porta Johns. Give me a break. There's John the Baptist, who is the one that the voice in the wilderness, voice crying in the wilderness, right? And he make clear and make the ways clear for the make clear the path, the way for the Lord, the way of the Lord. Okay, and so he's the teacher of Jesus, and so then Jesus dies, and Jesus will come again, right? And this is the other John. This is John of Revelation, or thought of as the Apostle John, same guy making the book of Revelation, and he is both the fulfillment of Jesus and the person who is telling and predicting and giving us the plan for the future. So as the Knights Templar trace their origin to John the Baptist in Jerusalem and the early Johannite Christian religion, they avoid all of the precepts of Golden Rule Christianity. Golden Rule Christianity is what our teachers teach us as children. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. You know, that's the real Christian life, is to live in a place where everyone obeys the golden rule. But if you did that, you couldn't hoard money. You couldn't store up capital in order to take over somebody else's business because you'd feel a Christian duty to say, no, no, I'm not going to take over that guy's business. What would his kids do? How will they go to college? I'm going to help that guy. I got more money than I need. I'm going to help that person. That's a Christian attitude. And this is what we are told is that Christ died to save us from our own mortality because of our essential sinful nature. And he's given us the good news, the New Testament, that we can have eternal life if we just follow these rules. Empires can't exist under golden rule Christianity. They just can't, it just won't work because people are going to have too much empathy for each other. You know? So how do they get away? How do they get away from the basic simple teachings of Jesus? You know, love one another, and share. Like in James, the end of the book of James, it's the same story of he's basically saying be a communist. To take all your stuff, throw it all into the pile, and share as people need. Who take what you need. Well, that's the ideal. That's the ideal of communism. But it can't happen where the dominant culture is about greed. The dominant culture is about storing away capital to have power over others. And this dominant culture is what has got us down right now. Scarcity. The scarcity model. It's a model. It's a way to think. If your whole life is based on scarcity, then you can be easily controlled, right? If the villagers have to walk a half a mile every day to get water out of the stream, and you need to control those villagers, well, it's pretty simple. You just mess with their water supply or cut off their path to the stream because there's scarcity. There's not enough water. But if there was water, running out of taps all in every village, in every town, in every house, and every facility in the whole country, if there was water everywhere, then nobody would have power over those villagers, at least not by cutting off their water, because there's no scarcity. The food is a weapon. Henry Kissinger, he said it. You know, he said food is a weapon. We have to use food. So there's the primary example of someone who's willing to, kill 100,000 people now to make life better for somebody else in the future. somebody that's willing to commit genocide on the theory that humanity as a whole will be improved by getting rid of those useless eaters. See, that's the conundrum that they gave you with Star Trek, right? Where the Captain Kirk side, the Earth side, the Earth people, we have empathy, we have these human traits that Spock just doesn't have. Spock's a Vulcan. The way that they live, they're Aristotelians. Every decision is made based upon counting odds. What's my profit? What are my costs? Which one do I make more money if I do it? That's the Vulcan way, because you don't assume that there's other qualities to life other than just what you see or what you can count, or what you can put in the bank. And so the producers gave us that choice. Which way do you want to be? And of course, Spock, half human, gives us the answer that, yeah, humanity is the way to go. He develops an appreciation for what is better than just counting, for appreciation for the subtle things, maybe not quite love, but maybe art. Maybe he got as far as understanding art. But those are the ones that will commit genocide, the ones that just count, that don't have the emotional overlay to their lives or to their personalities. They just count, kind of like the orcs in the Lord of the Rings. These are creatures that are created for the sole purpose of killing, and they don't have consciences. There was never a conscience put them in them when they were created. Very useful types of beings to the evil ones. Well, let's get back to what I was talking about with the book of Revelation. Because Henry Kissinger was known by the name Bohr, Bor, when he was working at Camp King and creating, the beginnings of what we see now with Reinhard Gehlen and NATO and all the amazing things that we know about Kissinger at Camp King in 1946 now with Galen and what we know now about the Fort Hunt Agreement. This casts an incredibly new light, a powerful light on the history that we've been trying to understand, and to realize that, yeah, these are real Nazis, and they really did get power from the CIA or the OSS, that's then the COI, and then the CIA. But that power was handed to them by the Dulles brothers, and the Dulles brothers were doing it on behalf of the Rockefellers, their main clients. Not on behalf of the American people, on behalf of the Rockefellers. Because it's quite clear that the Rockefellers had been financing the Nazis in the first place. So in a way, it was like they're just taking care of their boys, taking care of their guys. Bor, Bor, Book of Revelations. Does that make sense? That Henry Kissinger was put in place to bring about Armageddon. Do you ever look at the big mural in the United Nations? I think I want to show it to you. Let's see, UN mural. Oh, let's see. Trying to get one big enough for you to see. Hmm. Well, I'm sorry. Let me give it one more try. All right, I'm just going to toss this up here for. Okay, so you can see it. This is the mural at in the big room, the conference UN, the big hall. I can't remember the name of the hall, and so many things to talk about in this mural. But the basic idea is down at the bottom. You've had death. You've got all of these dark figures that some of them are like soldiers that are cleaning up or wiping their brow after the war. People getting buried. Slaves, it looks like, that may be getting freed. But it's all a bunch of people arising out of a disaster, out of some type of a horrible war. And right in the middle of it, you see a bird. And those of you who have been with me for a while will know what that bird is, right? Okay, I'm going to let you have a second to guess what the bird is. Okay, somebody make the guess. Come on now. What is that bird? Yeah, Denver Airport's another one, but this is the one that was put in the United Nations, main conference building hall so that the people that are the delegates will see it all the time. Okay, Corky gets it first, the Phoenix. That's right. And who gets extra credit? Brightmore Dinosaur gets extra credit for the Vesica Pisces. And let's talk. No, it's not a chickadee, Jason. That's a good guess, though. I want to give you credit where credit is due. It's not a chickadee. It is the Phoenix. And above it is the Vesica Pisces. Let's do the Phoenix first, okay? The Phoenix is the bird that rises from the ashes. This represents, in biblical terms, the end of the tribulations that are called for in the book of Revelations. So think of the phoenix as the new world that comes of happiness and prosperity, and everybody's happy in this new world. In the panel just above it, that shape is indeed called a vesica piscis, which um, is a Latin reference to, well, um, piscis means fish. And if you ever seen the little fish logo called ichthos with that means Jesus, it starts with the letter I, which is the first letter in ichthos, which is the Greek. But anyway, it shapes. If you shape it like that, it turns out to look like this, a fish. That's why I call it vesica. Vesica is a vessel. So it's a vesica piscis, but what it really is actually the vagina. Okay. And since it represents the vagina, you see in there the man and the wife, um, the baby down at the bottom. Uh, I'm not sure who's up there, the angel above them, some figures on either side. And it represents the new life that's going to come after the Armageddon is over with. So that's what I wanted to, not vorticles, vesicles, Vesicle. Yeah. Vorticles are cool though. Um, uh, Perning in a gyre, so to speak, for you, Corky, my friend. All right, let me get rid of this overlay. And magically, there I am, back. My angel on my shoulder there. So we're doing some thoughts tonight, a thought exercise as to how is it that people can justify doing horrible things like committing genocide or killing 500,000 babies in Iraq, Madeleine Albright, um, Hillary Clinton. How can you do that and say it was worth it? How can you do that? Well, we have this very strong tradition of these secret societies. And we now understand that through the Johannite or the Johannite version of Christianity, this survives into the upper reaches of our secret societies. So that you have the expectation that the second coming is when everything's going to get better. Between then and now, I mean, between now and then, or between the death of Jesus and through the present time until the second coming, or until the beginning of the end times, the tribulations, instead of living by the golden rule, which wouldn't advance the cause of the phoenix, right? You're with the you're going to be with the phoenix, right? You're going to rise from the ashes. That's the whole point of your secret society, is that you guys are going to, you figured all this out. There's going to be this horrible, end times, this war, and you have got an inside track. You understand what's going to happen. So you're going to rise from the ashes with that bird. You're going to be happy like that young couple in the mural. You're going to have a happy baby. Life will be beautiful for you because you're part of the phoenix. You signed up. You're in. course, you have certain duties you have to fulfill once you've gotten your ticket in, to the secret club that knows that it's really not about the golden rule. No, because what really has to happen is we have to get to Armageddon. You have to get to Armageddon first because that's what it says. This is what Bob Marley means when he says, some say it's all a part of it. We have to fulfill the book. Okay? Some say it's all a part of it. We have to fulfill the book. Well, these are the people that are saying that until we have gone through the book of Revelation, this is not time yet for the golden rule. We are still here living down here in the muck, in everything is condemned and everything is vile and everything is evil unless you become a Christian, a saved Christian, a born again, going to heaven. But you see, the people that in that 19th century sense of the Great Awakening of I'm born again. I see, I see the errors of my ways. I'm going to have Jesus is my Lord, my inspiration. I will always follow Jesus. That's the kind of awakening that reinforces the original Jesus message. And so it blocks our view. It takes up the territory of that side of Christianity with something that's very, very benign. And that, like I think my mother's mother was probably like that, a Baptist that just plain believed in uh, as long as you believe in Jesus, as long as you do what you believe Jesus says, that you're good, you're going to heaven. Conceive of a mindset now where instead of following what Jesus says, you're working to fulfill the book of Revelation, the BOR. So would you not then secretly arm both sides of a conflict? Would you not then try to reduce the numbers of cultures and sides and languages and people down to a lower number so that eventually there would be just like one gang would have to fight the other out and you would get your Armageddon at the end with the final war to end wars and the earth would be practically destroyed and then you'd have your ashes and then you, the chosen ones, will rise with the phoenix and create that beautiful new world that's painted on the UN because the UN was built to carry us to that new world. It is the extension of the Nazi dream worldwide without the blatant racism. As a matter of fact, the racism of it is an entirely uh, different subject that really I haven't had the time to study what the heck kind of relationship is there between racism and the agenda of the United Nations when it comes to the obvious support of population reduction. The idea that we have too many people or that we're on a track to get too many people is a noble lie. It's called a noble lie because people that tell that lie think that they are doing a greater good by telling a lie. In other words, they are using evil in their mind to do good. And right there, you're departing from the basic Christian message. Because why is it in your mind that you get to decide that this is better than telling the truth? Well, maybe it was politics that decided it. Maybe you had to do it in order to win a certain jurisdiction or a state or a certain deep pocket. You had to do it to win. Because if you won, then you'd be in a position to do more good. So you compromise in order to get into a better position to do more good later. Very, very common. Very common way to get into office, to think, yeah, I would have to do that favor for, Mr. So and so from the whatever factory. But once I got into office, I could do a whole lot for education, because I'm really all about education. Pardon me there. Well, anyway, you see where I'm going with this? If you have, and we've Bill Taylor, the great researcher, has been educating us about Frankists, um, this very upside down version of Judaism in which uh, they basically do evil in order because they think that's the way to do good, to bring on, I guess, the end times. And that's the philosophy of the modern Satanist churches, is to say, we are worshiping Satan because Satan is the agent, that's here to purify, like mercury purifies gold. But Satan is here to purify. And the way that that works, if you please Satan, then you're going to be able to survive. You're going to make it. You'll be in, like Faust, you know, Mephistopheles. And then you see all the people with the great lives, the Hollywood and the bling and the money and the cars and the makeup and all of that stuff. And you realize, wow, there's a lot of weird stuff going on there. Like you see a 30 something model with her 7 or 8 year old kid um, photographed walking across the street wearing identical outfits. What's that about? Are they training the kid to be the replacement for the mom, or this is what I see. This is that dark side. That what's it worth? How can we monetize this kid? And that's the idea behind the H.G. Wells and the Fabian Society, that there will be a few people behind the scenes that really know what's going on and can manipulate, the masses and cull the herd from time to time. For goodness sakes, if there's not going to be enough food, then why should we let them have to have a war to fight it out over scarce resources? You know, the point is they're not going to let us have the food no matter what. Whereas all they'd had to do would be to give us the superior technology so we could all eat. That's where I'm at. I think, as I say, you can find it easy. You can see a statistic that says that the 8 billion people on the earth could all fit into the state of Alaska and all have 2,400 square feet to themselves. 8 billion people could fit into the state of Alaska with 2,400 square feet to themselves. Math's been done, works. Okay, so if that's the case, then how could we be overpopulated as a planet? We're not. The problem that they have is their financial system is not geared to letting us all participate. It's all about skimming off the top. And it's their financial system at this point, it's not ours. But they will enforce that scarcity on us. At will. And the question that I have to ask are they planning an Armageddon? Is that what Henry Kissinger's real mission is? Is BOR, Bor, the book of Revelation. Bring it on. I think we have to look at it that way. With all these horrible, horrible new weapons from biological, chemical, outer space, lasers, direct energy weapons, ultrasounds, microwaves, very, very ugly, horrible stuff. But if we don't understand that this is just them, they're setting it up. It's just like my mother always said, don't listen to anybody that says you and him. Why don't you and him go fight? And that's what it's all about. It's they're saying, hey, you go fight with China or you go fight with Putin. Yeah, that sets it up just fine for the people behind the scenes that are waiting for that phoenix. You saw the phoenix, didn't you, when we went down to George and I, when we went down to National Harbor? And I showed you the pictures of that huge metal sculpture that is the phoenix. And then you saw, all the incredible involvement of these arms type corporations. A remarkable series of events there at National Harbor. But that's where that Phoenix uh, sculpture is. And that idea that perhaps the Clinton, if she had been elected with that plane there, the Khashoggi one and everything, it was going to be like a stage or a staging area for something big. But it didn't happen. And that was a shock, I think, to everyone involved. And now the plane's gone. The plane that we called Khashoggi 1. It was, we did quite a few shows about that plane. And then I was driving across the Wilson Bridge a couple of months ago, and there I saw there was, what happened to the plane? It was halfway gone already. So I drove over there and pulled up next to the security guard, and he let me run over there and take a quick picture. Now it's gone, like it was never there. Yeah, the nice thing is as long as we're telling the truth, we're good. And the ones that lie, they think they're going to win because they control the media. They think they're going to win because they control the banks and all this stuff. But I don't think they can win in the sense that the more that they borrow, the more they have to pay back. The more that if they borrow trillions and trillions of dollars, there's going to be interest payments. There's going to be paybacks. They're going to run out of cash at some point. Now, this question of whether the government allows the debt ceiling to go up again. I see they've punted it to December right now, but that's their bargaining chip. They'll work something out because nobody can afford to see this crash. At least not yet. They're just not ready. For instance, I think that they can't crash it until you know until we've all got our chips, so they can keep track of us and monetize us. That's just me speculating. You know, sure, those RFID chips are just to help get into the work site faster. Go through security. Boom, you're gone. Just a matter of convenience, right? And anything they put inside of you is not for identification purposes. No, of course not. You know, that's just medicine. But that's what I think. I think that they can't crash the the system until the new system is ready. And I think the new system requires a higher level of control over us, us as human units, units of energy and potential profit for them. Well, it's time for the humans to exert their humanity. Our, our vulnerability is clear. We've got all kinds of disadvantages. They're ahead of us in just about every way. Um, can we rise up and be the saviors of the planet, the earth, God's creation, because that's what it is. It's God's creation that they would just as soon have it blown up in order to rise from it and create something that they think is going to be better. So that's what it really is. It's about, do we want to preserve the biosphere, the incredible miracle that has granted us the ability to live our lives? Or do we want to turn it over to the unknown future, whatever's left over after the great Armageddon that they seem to want to bring on? Somehow, the instinct to be good and humane to other people, which we think everyone is born with, does not exist in the minds of these folks that see it as their duty to bring on the Armageddon and to look at everything that's here now as just expendable trash, from every human to every animal to every pure stream of water. expendable trash to those minds. It's a different way of looking at the world, but they have to have a way to sleep at night. And whether you call it Satanism or Johannism, the effect is to avoid all the teachings of Jesus, of the New Testament, and to go back to an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, Old Testament world where everything is evil and everything is depraved, and the only chance you have is to follow what they say, to actually participate in the destruction of God's creation. And that's what it's come to. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Well, it's good to have you guys with me tonight. Sorry, the subject is a little dark, but I'm trying to understand how can they do it? How you know World War II was incredibly horrible, and anybody that lived in it, I can't understand. Because they saw things that I would never be able to see, and I don't want to have to see them. Um, I have to give some deference to anybody that was there, including Kissinger. But what I see him doing is the path toward some type of horrific destruction and the fulfillment of that mural at the United Nations, created supposedly as an instrument of world peace. But what kind of peace and at what price? Thanks a lot for being with me. Good night, everybody.